Welcome back to the Sam JW channel, and let's chat about yesterday, shall we? Oxford United 1, Stoke City 0. So yes, it was I'll say a comfortable performance on paper, but obviously being at the stadium, it was a very different matter. Another very assured second half performance from Oxford United. Des Buckingham's side maintaining their unbeaten run, their 100% record at Grenoble Road. And there's a couple of things we need to talk about from that fixture because I think it's going to be a good indication of Oxford's season going forward. In terms of lineup, as you can see on your screen, Jamie Cummings started it in goal. The back four made up of Peter Kioso. Elliot Moore returned to the side after his, I believe it was a knock he had just before the Preston game. Kieran Brown and Greg Lee making up the rest of the back four. Josh McEachran kept his place in the six with Cameron Brannigan and Idris El Mazouni. Ahead of him was probably more El Mazouni as the 8 and then Brannigan slightly further forward as the 10. And then you had Tyler Goodrum, Siriki Dembele and Sparky Mark Harris, the most informed striker in English football, only behind Erling Haaland until now. It's a very strong lineup. The only switch I thought we'd see would be, I thought we'd see Hidter Avest come into the lineup. He's not played any games yet for Oxford. I thought he might come in to replace Peter Kioso. The rest of the lineup I expected pretty much. The reality is that last time out, after the first kind of 20 minutes where we looked a little bit shaky, the squad really kicked up a notch and looked really positive against Preston North End. So not really too much need to change. The likes of Josh McEachran, who looked really good. Obviously, Siriki Dembele came on for about 65-70 minutes and looked really good. Idris El Mazouni, his performances both in the cup and when he come on in for small amounts in the league, he's looked really good. His start was very well deserved. And obviously Greg Lee is a forced change given the fact that Joe Bennett is out until the beginning of 2025 at a minimum. Now obviously that lineup did get altered before half time, that being Cameron Brannigan was taken off due to injury. We're not sure how bad that injury is. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it was just precautionary that led to Brannigan being taken off and he was replaced by Ruben Rodriguez, who had a bandage on his head. I don't know what Ruben's done to himself. Who knows? Hopefully he's not gone out on another bender like he did after the playoff promotion celebration, allegedly. If we look at the first half stats, I think it's fair to say it was fairly even. We had slightly more of the ball, didn't create as many decent opportunities. Stoke, there were times where they were just piling on pressure. They had a number of consecutive corner kicks, but we did have a slightly more shots on target, but those didn't really trouble the Stoke goalkeeper. And it was very much two sides cancelling each other out, and not an awful lot happened in that first half. However, second half we come flying out of the traps. Obviously, it's in the 47th minute when the bit of play between Ruben Rodriguez fizzing ball across the area to find Idris El Mazouni and also Siriki Dembele on the penalty spot. But it's Idris El Mazouni, the magic Tunisian, who pokes it home to give Oxford United a 1-0 lead and get his first goal in an Oxford shirt. For I'd say the next kind of 20 minutes we kept on piling the pressure looking for that second goal. Harris had an opportunity, Dembele had a couple of chances, there's that incredible chance that somehow Peter Kioso misses where the ball's fizzed across the goal line, but I believe it was Ruben Rodriguez again, and he somehow spoons it up in the air and not into the back of the net. That's one of the most incredible misses I've ever seen, right in front of us in the Jim Smith stand. But like I said, chance after chance kept coming. There was another superb opportunity with Malcolm Abuez. He was introduced in place of Siriki Dembele, who also ended up getting man of the match. But two opportunities where Malcolm Abuez darting right at the Stoke defence, giving them all kinds of trouble, and that dynamism, that freedom like we talked about in the transfer window video, where he's just got that ability and he's got the freedom to play with that expressive nature in his play. He looked brilliant, and yeah, he had a couple of opportunities. As you can see by the stats, 10 shots to Stoke's 3. We had 5 on target, 3 big chances, 2 of them missed, those being the Kyoto and I believe another one from Malcolm Abui. Like I said, Stoke didn't create anything of real substance for the vast majority of that second half. They had 1 or 2 decent corner kicks that kind of looked slightly dangerous from where we were standing at the other side of the ground. But overall, it was, not an awful lot. Jamie Cumming having some very routine saves to make for the most part. We were also, the better side with the ball, averaging a 1.16 XG in that second half to a 0.22 for Stoke. 56% of the possession. Des described it as one of the best performances he's seen in his time back at the club. And I have to say, it didn't feel it because there were multiple chances. As a supporter, you never feel comfortable unless you're like 3-0 up. There's always that burning hole in the back of your brain, or maybe it's just as Oxford fans, we've been burned too many times. We're thinking this could all very quickly turn. But it's, you're looking back, it does look a very comfortable victory and another very important 3 points at Grenoble Road, making sure that our home form is as perfect as humanly possible, and then the away form will try and pick up a few points. Obviously, next week we've got Bristol City, the Liam Manning derby, where we go to Ashton Gate, and then after that, I believe it's Burnley at Grenoble Road, and then Portsmouth at Fratton Park. Luton, of course, I forgot to mention, is in there before the Portsmouth game, but a couple of big games coming up, and we'll take this momentum. We look really good. Obviously, a couple of key players I wanted to point out. Obviously, we're going to talk about the magic that is Siriki Dembele. The lad looked absolutely sublime. Just so many things. Like I said with Malcolm Abui when he came in, he had that freedom, that expressiveness to just burst at his man cutting on the right side. But not just that, his searing pace, he got clattered a fair number of times. I think that's going to be a running theme for the rest of the campaign, is he's going to be the man that is going to get clattered for Oxford United when we want to go forward on counter-attacks or just in attacks we've built up from the back. But not just that, not just the expressive, but the way he's expressing it. There's a beautiful moment, I believe it might have been from a Jamie Cumming goal kick, where Siriki just flicks it over his shoulder, turns his man and bolts down the left-hand side. It was an absolute brilliant moment, and really Siriki endearing himself to the Oxford supporters so quickly. We were singing his name at the end of the game. He got the man of the match, as I mentioned. Siriki Dembele was absolutely phenomenal. For me personally, I thought maybe he was man of the match, but obviously I can understand the FOTMob's man of the match rating going to Idris El Mazouni, given just how good he was in that midfield. Like I say, Idris El Mazouni had really warranted his selection in the Oxford lineup. Really good performances, good showings in the few minutes he'd had in the Cups and the latter stages of the league matches. Comes in, plays brilliantly, doing that thing again where he's just everywhere. He's everywhere. Every second ball he's onto, he's making the challenges. He's using that kind of silky footwork he's got to lose his man and find some space for himself. And obviously popping up late in the area to poke home Ruben Rodriguez's cross to give us the 1-0 lead. He said after the game in an interview with BBC Radio Oxford, he doesn't really mind where he plays, the 6, the 8, the 10. He doesn't mind, and that is a wonderful adaptability, versatility to have for an Oxford United side. We've got the same with Cameron Brannigan. He can play basically anywhere in that midfield 3, and to have another player like Brannigan in that versatile role is super important, especially when we're going to get into the series of games where we're playing so many matches. A lot of players are going to need a rest. Another player we mentioned him going through the lineups, that was Josh McEachran. Look, going into the game and as the squads were revealed and the teams were released, a lot of fans around me were kind of bemoaning the reselection of Josh McEachran. To a certain degree, I understand it. Josh he's obviously on the older side and he's not got as much legs as someone like Will Vaulks. However, what Josh does give you is that pure, just incredible ability on the ball. There are a couple of times back to goal, turns his man and then sprays a pass. Obviously we saw 2 weeks ago with the assist for Mark Harris's goal. McEachran is just that magical man on the ball, and obviously the step up to the Championship, players like Josh McEachran, like Ruben Rodriguez, are getting a bit more time on the ball. So they looked a little bit frustrating in League One because they were being hurried by League One defences. They've got that little split second more to take that touch, to play that pass, to make that decision. And these guys, when they're so good on the ball, that can only be a good thing. Peter Kioso, also worth a mention. This was his best performance in an Oxford shirt, I thought. There were still one or two moments where he looked slightly shaky on the defensive end. But look, no fullback, no defender is ever going to be perfect. But I thought he was pretty decent. Some really good combinations with Tyler Goodrum on the right-hand side. And is exactly what I said in the transfer video about comparing him and Hito Vest or Samuel, whoever ends up playing in that right back role, with what we had last season with Greg Lee and Joe Bennett. Kioso looks much more comfortable in the attacking sense. Obviously, substitutions came on. Malcolm Abu, who I mentioned, had a couple of decent opportunities, and again, another lively performance for him. Ruben Rodriguez obviously gets the assist, and that incredible just impact on a game is what Ruben's able to bring to this side. And it's not that much of a bad thing to have someone like Ruben Rodriguez to introduce from the bench, because we've seen Ruben when he's not playing, he's got that fire. He's got that fire in his heart that he wants to prove he should be starting week in, week out for Oxford. And a fired up Ruben Rodriguez for the most part is no bad thing. The other one, of course, Will Vaulks brought on for Josh McEachran. Like I say, Josh McEachran, he's not as durable as someone like Will Vaulks. So you did have to take McEachran off at some point. Will Vaulks came in, didn't look amazing, but only 15 minutes to impact the game, and for the most part, we were 1-0 up, and there were obviously moments where he didn't have to impact the game. We were in the ascendancy, looking most likely to score a second, and like I say, Vaulks doesn't have to have a stunning game every single game. He just has to have steady performances, kind of build himself back up after obviously the horror of the Coventry misplaced pass and the shaky performance against Blackburn. Overall though, like I say, it was a very comfortable is maybe the wrong way to put it. Because like I say, in the standard didn't feel that way, but the momentum chart says otherwise. Lots of peaks. Obviously a very high peak down here in the 69th minute for Stoke City, but didn't amount to much. For the most part, it's a lot of very steady peaks for Oxford. And obviously overall, a very, very solid 1-0 win, and the kind of performance that again we can carry on. Our 100% record at home is maintained, and Des Buckingham side go into the Liam Manning derby this weekend as on much better form than the opposition. Obviously there's going to be a lot of emotions around that game, not just us coming up against Liam Manning for the first time since he left the football club, but a lot of ex-Oxford players, including of course Marcus McGuane, who left in this transfer window. So going to be a lot of emotion in that. But the form table suggests we are the better side going into this. Obviously we'll have to wait and see for the actual game how that plays out, because like I say, there's a lot of talent. Don't take the last two Bristol City results as that is how, that is Bristol City's level in the Championship. They're a much better side than that. They've got some incredible players in those attacking areas. Of course, Scott Twine being the new favourite there at Ashton Gate. But let me know your thoughts on Oxford's 1-0 win against Stoke City in the comments down below. And of course, we will very much see you at Ashton Gate for hopefully another Oxford United win. Hopefully at least we can get our first away point of the campaign against the Snake Liam Manning as Bristol City boys. Thank you very much. I'll see you later.